Hey guys, I want to spend a couple of moments talking about how I built a multi-million dollar coaching company. Now, if you know my story, you know that there was a moment in my life where I literally lost everything. I ended up going through a personal bankruptcy. It was horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I went through a divorce. I kind of lost all my friends. I lost all my assets. I kind of lost everything. But it was in the middle of that actual place of pain that I started thinking about what I could do to recover. Pain is a funny thing, right? I mean, you get, knocked down and all of a sudden you start thinking about what matters, what's important, but also you start thinking, how can I recover? Mike Tyson said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, and I'd been punched in the face. And so though I had a plan before I got punched in the face, I also needed to quickly get a new plan after getting punched in the face so that I could recover. And that actual plan led me to being able to build the business that I have right now, which is truly global in nature, multi-million dollar coaching company well over a decade that we've been building and that we've been putting our energy and effort into, and seriously seeing incredible results in our clients all over the place. And so I want to share some of those secrets with you that I discovered. The first thing that I want to say is it was at that moment when I was at my lowest, I remember thinking to myself, I can't help anybody because I'm so messed up myself. And when you think about that, that's actually really common. A lot of people think, I can't build a business, I can't help anybody because I'm not the successful person. Listen, success is not something that you experience. It's something that you create. It's not something that's handed to you. It's something that you have to forge. And often you have to forge success in the fire of adversity. I think that a lot of the time people have this idea that getting into business and getting into success is just this easy thing. I've actually heard people say, well, this should be easy. And I'm like, listen, man, if you are allergic to adversity, you are delaying your destiny, right? The longer you choose to do the easy rather than the hard, the longer it will be before you truly build your business. And so that's just kind of laying a foundation for a couple of things that I want to talk about. I want to share with you 3 success factors that you never hear anyone talk about. And these 3 success factors changed my life. They elevated my business. They brought me to where I am today from literally nothing. And I'm telling you what, these 3 success factors will help you too. Success factor number 1 that no one talks about is delay your gratification. Okay, delay your gratification. The single greatest success characteristic is the ability to delay your gratification. Now, what does that mean? That means that I have the desire to experience the results of my hard work today. But if I'm going to be successful, what I've got to do is I've got to keep delaying that gratification. Why? So that I can reinvest in my business. You see, to act without seeing the results of your actions is delayed gratification. And oftentimes in a business, we're just investing, building our business, not eating the fruit of our labor, not driving those Lamborghinis or those really nice cars, because we're doing the right thing. And that's practicing this principle called delay your gratification. You see, an average person with focus will always outperform a distracted genius. I mean, how many distracted geniuses do you know? I mean, we all know people who are smarter than us. We all know people who are brighter than us. We all know people whose creativity is greater than us. And yet we left them in the dust a long time ago. Why? Because we have focus. Because we are absolutely crystal focused on the goal. And that is delayed gratification. I'm going to pay now so that I can play later. Because I promise you, if you play now, you'll pay later. The question in life is not, are you going to pay? Everybody's going to pay. The question is, when are you going to pay? And if you want success in business, the first thing you got to do is you've got to delay that gratification. The second thing you've got to do, so number 1, delay your gratification. Number 2, deploy your gifts. Now, a lot of the time in our culture, especially here in Western culture, we are so focused on what's wrong with you, like what's wrong with us. And I think it's not about being focused on what's wrong with you. It's being focused on what's strong with you. If you want to succeed in business, you got to get out of the mindset of what's wrong and you got to pivot to this mindset of what's strong. And so what does that mean? That means you've got to deploy your gifts every single day. You've got to be that person who's using your gifts every single day. You can't take a day off using your gifts. Why? Because if you take a day off from using your gifts, your competition, they're not taking a day off, and so they're going to leave you behind. I discovered early in my business career that I'm only really good at about 2 or 3 things. I'm not even trying to be good at 5, 10, 15, 20 things because I know I'm not going to be good at them. I'll be functional. I'll be like non-harmful, non-toxic, but I won't be a genius at 5 or 10 things. I'll be a genius at maybe 2 or 3 things. And those 2 or 3 things have defined my career and actually are the things that took me from nothing to literally millions of dollars. Now, what holds us back from deploying our gifts? I'll tell you one thing that holds us back is the imposter syndrome. How many know what I'm talking about? The imposter syndrome. This is this idea in the back of your head, this little voice that keeps telling you, oh, you're never gonna be good enough. You're just telling a lie. Why don't you take the mask off? Why don't you show people who you really are? And I think that imposter syndrome is deadly. I can't tell you as a coach how many people I've talked to as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, they've been held back by the imposter syndrome. The other syndrome that holds a lot of people back is the victim syndrome, and that's this idea, poor me, the world is stacked up against me, the government doesn't like me, other people don't like me, my boss doesn't like me, my wife doesn't like me, my husband doesn't like me, my mom doesn't like me. And I'll tell you what, at some point you got to look the victim syndrome in the eye and say, none of those people matter. What really matters is what you think about who? You. You're the one who determines your destiny. You're the one who determines your worth and value. And actually, you devalue yourself by bowing down to the opinions of other people. You elevate your value when you stand up, look yourself in the mirror and say, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm awesome nonetheless, right? And that's the kind of mindset that we've got to have. The other syndrome that I've seen people literally held back by for many, many years is the can't syndrome. It's this idea, well, I have all these limitations. Don't you understand? I'm not the right skin color. I'm not the right educational profile. I don't have the right amount of money in my bank. I'm not the right gender. I'm not the right height. For me, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I was never the right height. I was always the last guy picked for the sports teams, because I was kind of small guy. And that can't syndrome got into me. This was this idea of arguing for my limitations rather than against them. I would sit there and tell people the 20 reasons why I can't rather than the one reason why I can, because all you need is one reason to break through that can't syndrome. And so, hey, if you're gonna talk about success factors that no one ever tells you about, the first one is delay your gratification. The second one is you have got to deploy your gifts. The third is you have got to design your game plan. I'll tell you what, business, money, success will never come to you. Hate to break it to you. I wish it did. I wish it could. I wish it would. I wish praying. I wish the law of attraction. I wish something would just bring all the success and all of the joy into my life that I deserve and that you deserve. But it doesn't work that way. What you actually have to do is you actually have to design a game plan. Now, when you think about a game plan in business, I happen to be in the coaching business, in the speaking business. Maybe you're in the plumbing business. Maybe someone else is in the haircutting business. Maybe someone else is a massage therapist. Maybe some of you are into, design, manufacturing, production, agriculture. I mean, who knows? I've got agricultural businesses as well. And so, what you have to think about in every business is a really simple series of questions. The first thing is this: what is the problem that you're going to solve? Because the problem that you're going to solve is going to determine almost everything else. You can't solve all the problems out there, but I can promise you people will not part with their money unless you're solving a problem for them. So what is the problem you're going to solve? You might be solving the problem of somebody who needs a great massage. You might be solving the problem of someone who needs a great haircut. You might be solving the problem of somebody who needs better mental health, but you've got to be crystal clear, what is the problem that I'm solving? The second thing you got to think about in this idea of designing your game plan is, who are you going to serve? I'll tell you what, you and I are put on this earth not to be served, but to serve. And I just want to break that mindset in somebody who might be watching who thinks that life is all about you. If you're that person, you will never be successful in business. I do not believe in this winner take all, I'm going to strip everybody else of what they've got so that I can get my thing. I think that it's all about serving others. And you know what's crazy? What's crazy is that when you start serving others, other people start serving you. When you start elevating others, other people start elevating you. When you start empowering others, guess what happens? other people start empowering you. Now think about this for a moment. Who will you serve? What kind of person will you serve? Now, this can be sort of a demographic profile. Maybe you want to serve women, maybe you want to serve men, maybe you want to serve young people, maybe you want to serve old people. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you want to serve middle-aged people, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever. That's really an important question. But beyond the demographic, you also have to think about the psychographic. In other words, what kind of mentality am I looking for in my customer? I work with coaches, and it's so funny, I see so many coaches, they struggle to just get one client. And I saw this post the other day where some lady was like, oh my God, I just got my first $5,000 client, and they're all excited. I'm thinking, man, that happened for me like 15 years ago. And I celebrated her. I think that's great. But for her, as she was celebrating that I just got this $5,000 client, and congrats to her, I'll tell you what, it was a shift in her mindset that allowed that success to occur, right? It had to happen in her first before she would go out and find it. In other words, if I'm not a person who's willing to pay that $5,000, I'm not going to attract somebody else who is willing to pay that. So when you're thinking about who am I going to serve, you got to be thinking not just demographics. Well, I like to serve women. I like to serve men. I like to serve middle-aged people. I want to go after millennials, whatever. But you also have to think amongst that pool of millennials, who's my target client, or that pool of Gen Z, what kind of mindset am I looking for? Is it health and wellness? Is it leadership oriented? Is it more creative? Is it artistic? Is it structured? Is it non-structured? Is it linear? Is it nonlinear? Is it big picture, or is it really little detail? You've got to think all of that through. What are their values? What's their ethos? What's their mindset? The thing that I think about also is not just what's the problem that you're going to solve and who are you going to serve, but I also think about what will your sales funnel look like. Now you might say, my goodness, what is a sales funnel? A sales funnel is the track or the journey that your possible client will make along the way to purchasing you. How will you let them know who you are? How will you let them know that you even exist? And once they start to know that you exist, how do you go from being this distant, barely known entity to someone that they would actually become comfortable with? Now, hey, if you're McDonald's or Tesla, you can spend, billions of dollars on advertising, and that's your sales funnel. Just boom, you just spend a whole bunch of money on advertising. But most of us aren't that. And so what we have to think a lot more about is a relationship-driven customer connection type of sales funnel, where we actually look people in the eye, where we let them experience us as a person. In the new economy, you see, in the old economy, a lot of things, the industrial economy, could be done at this massively scaled level, whereby I just needed to buy the right factory or the right piece of equipment or the right plot of land, and all of a sudden the money would just start rolling in. But now what we have is a digital economy where I have clients in over 20 different countries around the world. And what that means, a lot of them I'll never meet face to face, but I still want to touch them in the same individual caring type of way. Now, of course, as you grow and as you scale, that's not always possible. But let me tell you, the values and the foundation that you lay at the lower level determines who you become even as you go higher up that chain. And so what am I saying? What I'm saying is you've got to think a lot about, how do I design a sales funnel that allows people to get to know me both at a distance and also up close, and allows people to get to understand what I'm all about, why they should invest in my company or build a life or a dream or a customer experience with me, rather than with all of the other options that are out there. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I think a lot of the people out there who are teaching business, honestly, when you look under the hood, a lot of the time they haven't really built a business, or they might not have the scope or the education to think about these factors, these success factors that no one ever talks about. The first one is this: delay your gratification. The second one is deploy your gifts. The third is design your game plan. Now, hey, none of us flourishes alone. And so I would love for you to check out failuretoflourishing.com, where we've got a whole pathway. We're building our team. We're building our team that's actually spreading all over the world, whether you're in Asia or South America or Central America or the United States or Europe or, the Middle East or Africa. There is a place for you. I can promise you, on our team, we would love to connect with you. So please do reach out. Go to failuretoflourishing.com. And you know what? In the comments below, I would love to hear about your experience of deploying your gifts. Every one of you has magical, monumental, world-changing gifts. But you know what? Society has beaten us down sometimes, right? People have criticized us. People have put us down. And so I'd love to hear about your story of fighting through those obstacles, of trying to figure out who and what you are. Please put something in the comments below, and we'll be so happy to respond, to connect with you, and to create community together. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this has helped you.